Ever wonder why humanity always seems to be the underdog? Picture this. A blue-collar worker discovers ancient hidden allies beneath the Earth's surface just as an alien invasion threatens to wipe out civilization. Our accidental hero, armed with extraterrestrial tech and snarky one-liners, takes on superior alien forces. He's leading ordinary folks into battle, and his darkly comedic commentary might just be our last hope. Curious how it all ends? Spoiler alert, the underdog bites back hard. Stick around to see how a factory worker turns into Earth's unlikely savior. Mark Jeffries never imagined his commute home could get any worse until that evening. He was one block from his old beat-up Honda when the sky split open with a streak of red light. The factory worker's instincts kicked in, and he dove behind a dumpster, narrowly avoiding the explosion that vaporized his car. Great, just what I needed, a free fireworks show, Mark thought sarcastically, brushing debris off his jacket. Peeking around the green metal trash bin, he spotted them. The Glorxies, towering and sleek, they looked like a cross between octopuses and jagged metal sculptures. Their tentacles crackled with energy, and Mark could swear they were laughing. "What's with aliens and tentacles?" he muttered under his breath as he scampered into an alley. The chill of the evening matched the icy feeling of dread crawling up his spine. He saw his favorite diner go up in flames. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd always said their chili could kill. Making quick decisions was something Mark excelled at. Years of assembly line work had honed his reflexes. He bolted down the alley, his sneakers slapping against the pavement. If only sprinting away from death counted as exercise, he mused darkly. His plan was simple. Find a place to hide and think, but where? As if on cue, a brick wall beside him shimmered and a hidden door creaked open. Curiosity got the best of him. Why not? Maybe it leads to Narnia, he joked, stepping inside. Instead of mythical creatures, he found a sleek, metallic hallway that screamed advanced technology. The door sealed behind him, leaving him in eerie silence. His footsteps echoed as he ventured deeper. The air smelled sterile, almost too clean. It put the factory's grime to shame. "Hello," he called, his voice heavy with sarcasm. "Anyone here? Preferably someone not trying to kill me?" Lights flickered on like they were anticipating him. He turned a corner to find a tall, luminous figure with elongated limbs and deep blue eyes staring back at him. Mark stumbled backward, arms flailing. "Visitors are rare," the figure said. It had a fluid, melodic voice. "I am Alira." "Okay, not what I was expecting," Mark managed to say, staring at her. "You're not gonna vaporize me, right?" "No, Mark Jeffries," Alira reassured, her lips stretching into a semblance of a smile. "We'll need your help." "How do you know my name?" Mark questioned, his pulse picking up speed. "We've been watching," she said, her tone cryptic. "We, you may call us the Alorians, are guardians of this world. Hidden from your kind, but always here." "Right, ancient guardians. Sure, why not? Today couldn't get any weirder," Mark replied, chuckling darkly. "So where's the secret stash of alien-killing weapons?" Alira's eyes twinkled with what Mark assumed was amusement. "Follow me." He obeyed, curiosity winning over caution. They wandered through a labyrinth of corridors, walls lined with alien scriptures glowing in dim light. "This place looks like Tron had a love child with a library," Mark commented, earning another amused glance from Alira. She led him into a massive chamber filled with artifacts and advanced technology. "This is our armory," Alira explained. She picked up a sleek device. "And this is what you will use to fight the Glorxies." Mark took the strange device, examining it with skepticism. "You're giving me a super soaker?" "It channels energy," Alira corrected. "It will cut through their defenses." "Sweet. I always wanted a laser gun," he replied, trying to mask his nervousness with humor. "Hope the manual's in English." Alira smiled softly, her first sign of genuine warmth. "You're brave, Mark. It's why we chose you." "Yeah, well, bravery and insanity sometimes look the same," he uttered under his breath, gripping the device. "Guess I'm about to find out which one I am." As they left the chamber, the walls echoed with a low hum, like the Alorians themselves were holding their breath. The fight for Earth had just begun, and Mark Jeffries, factory worker turned reluctant hero, was right in the thick of it. Mark stood in the cavernous armory, staring at the alien device in his hands. "So what's the thing called?" he asked, turning it upside down and hoping he didn't accidentally activate a self-destruct button. "A Liru beam," Alira replied, gliding effortlessly beside him. "Engineered to interface with your physiology. Simply think of what you want, and it will respond." "Mind-controlled laser," Mark muttered. "Cool and slightly disturbing." "Got it." His eyes scanned the room of ancient artifacts, each one more advanced than his wildest dreams. The technology of the Elorians seemed almost magical. "How long have you guys been sitting on all this stuff?" "Since before your kind walked the surface," Alira answered with a mysterious smile. "We have watched you evolve, grow, fight, and flourish." "Kinda creepy, honestly," Mark responded with a snort, imagining ancient beings with popcorn, casually observing human history like a blockbuster movie. "So why help us now?" "The Glorxies threaten more than just your world. They disrupt a balance we've maintained for eons," Alira said, her voice tinged with gravity. "You must prove humanity's worth." "No pressure then," Mark said darkly, glancing at her. "Guess I'll give it my best Rambo." Moving out of the armory, he felt the weight of the Liro beam in his grasp. The thought of having to use it sent a chill down his spine. Could a factory worker really turn into a warrior? As they navigated the maze-like corridors, Alira briefed him on the Glorxies' vulnerabilities. They rely heavily on technology, underestimating the power of ingenuity and unpredictability, traits humans excel at. "They think we're stupid," Mark realized, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "Perfect. They won't see it coming." His thoughts wandered to the Glorxies' underestimation. Aliens who thought they were superior? Typical. He'd show them just how wrong they were. Emerging onto the surface, the sounds of chaos reached them. Screams, explosions, and the eerie hum of alien machinery filled the air. Mark felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He stood taller and adopted a mock-heroic pose. "All right, Alira, let's save the world." Alira touched his shoulder, a firm yet comforting gesture. "We'll be beside you." They moved silently through the ruins of the city. Mark's heart pounded as he observed the Glorxies setting up command posts, oblivious to the danger lurking below their feet. They looked overconfident, their tentacles lazily working controls. Time to test the Lirux beam. Mark aimed at one of the Glorxies, willing the device to fire. A brilliant blue beam shot out, hitting the alien squarely. It disintegrated, not even having time to scream. "Whoa," he breathed. "That's one way to handle pest control." He heard a flurry of alien voices, their panic palpable. Alira's lips curved into a smile. "You see? They underestimate you." Mark's confidence grew. He systematically targeted more Glorxies, each shot strengthening his resolve. His internal dialogue was a mix of fear, dark humor, and determination. "I'd call this zapping them to kingdom come, but I think they're way past that," he thought sardonically. Soon the Glorxies realized the threat was coming from humans. Their overconfidence waned, replaced by confusion and anger. Mark overheard one alien, its voice a harsh hiss. "How can this be? They are but primitives." "Guess we're full of surprises," Mark taunted silently. Each victory felt like a punch in the face to their arrogance. As the battle raged on, Alira provided real-time strategies. "Hit their power sources. They're hidden in the pylons," she advised, pointing to tall structures. Mark aimed the Lirux beam, thinking about bringing down the pylons. The blue light sliced through them like butter, causing the Glorxies to scramble. "Lights out, you tentacled bastards," he muttered with grim satisfaction. Through the chaos, a plan formed in Mark's mind. "We need more people, more fighters," he said to Alira. "Can we rally the survivors?" Alira nodded. "It is time to unite your kind." Her confidence in humanity's spirit was unwavering. They ventured into the underground shelters, finding frightened but determined faces. Mark's dark humor surfaced, easing the tension. "All right, folks, if you're looking for alien butt-kicking lessons, today's your lucky day." With Alira's guidance and Mark's leadership, the underground swell of resistance grew. Preparing for the next phase, they knew this was just the beginning. The Glorxies had underestimated humanity's will to survive, and that would be their downfall. Mark's makeshift army grew day by day. He never imagined he'd be training a ragtag group of survivors to wield advanced alien technology. But there he was, channeling his inner superhero. The Lirux beams glowed blue, the eerie light casting shadows on grim, determined faces. "All right, listen up," Mark called out, his voice echoing in the underground cavern they called their base. "Point, think, zap. It's that simple. And try not to blow each other up." A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. Humor was Mark's best weapon, kept people from realizing just how desperate the situation really was. Alira stood beside him, a constant pillar of calm. "You're doing well, Mark, better than I anticipated." "High praise from an ancient alien," he muttered. "Let's just hope we can avoid extinction." His thoughts were a whirlwind of strategy and anxiety. Being a leader wasn't his first choice, but the responsibility weighed on him, pushing him forward. Outside, the city was a battleground. Every corner held potential danger. Every street was a chessboard where the pieces moved unpredictably. Mark led sorties through the abandoned alleys, hitting Glork's outposts and retreating before they could counter. Each small victory bolstered their spirits. "Focus on the pylons first," he instructed during a briefing. "Without their power sources, they're as useful as a waterproof towel." One of the survivors, a young woman named Hannah, raised her hand. "What if we run into trouble?" Mark grinned. "Improvise. Humans are great at that. And remember, Glorxies don't expect us to be clever. Use that to your advantage." Hannah nodded, determination hardening her features. Mark watched her go, pride mingling with worry. He hoped his dark humor masked the dread he felt. Every mission could be their last, but he had to keep them focused, hopeful. The mission to take out a major Glorx power relay was underway. Mark and a small team navigated the ruins, Alira directing them with her intimate knowledge of the city's hidden structures. Tension hung thick in the air. Mark's heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. They reached the relay station, an imposing structure surrounded by Glorx guards. Mark signaled for silence, gesturing for his team to spread out. He spotted Hannah, her beam poised and ready. She met his gaze and nodded. "This is it," he thought grimly. "No turning back." Mark aimed his lyric beam, and in a swift, decisive moment, the first guard crumpled. The team moved with precision, taking out targets while Mark shot at the pylon's base. Brilliant blue beams lit the scene, alien machinery whirring in protest. The Glorxies' confusion was palpable. Shouts of alarm echoed as they scrambled to retaliate. Mark felt a surge of triumph. "They have no idea how to handle us," he thought, pressing the attack. But triumph quickly turned to urgency. More guards poured in, and the tide began to turn. "We're outnumbered!" Hannah shouted, panic creeping into her voice. Mark's mind raced. "Stay focused. We take down that pylon, no matter what." He darted to better cover, firing his beam with desperation. Alira provided support, her voice calm in Mark's earpiece. "The core is exposed. Aim for the center." Gritting his teeth, Mark adjusted his aim. One shot, one chance. He fired. The beam hit the core, and the pylon exploded in a dazzling display. The shockwave knocked him off his feet, but the sight was worth it. The Glorxes faltered, disoriented. "Fall back," Mark ordered, leading the retreat. Satisfaction mingled with exhaustion as they regrouped in the underground passage. "Well done," Alira said, her gaze steady on Mark. "You've proven their arrogance could be their undoing." He nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "They're starting to take us seriously. Time to show them just how serious we are." Inside, hope flickered. They had a fighting chance. In the dim light of their base, surrounded by survivors with renewed courage, Mark felt the weight of the world. But for the first time, it felt lighter. Alira's presence was a reminder of their hidden strength, and Mark knew they'd keep fighting, humor and all, until the very last breath. Mark leaned against the cold stone wall of their underground base, his eyes fixed on the rough map sprawled across the table. Every line and mark represented both hope and risk. His fingers traced the route of their next mission, a daring assault on the Glorx command center. Alira stood nearby, her expression unreadable. "Mark!" Hannah's voice broke through his concentration. "Are we really doing this?" He met her gaze, seeing the flicker of fear in her eyes. "We have to. This isn't just an attack, it's a statement. We're not rolling over." He could feel the weight of his words, the promise of defiance swelling in his chest. A murmur of agreement spread through the group. They had all come a long way, from frightened survivors to a force ready to take on an alien oppressor. Mark couldn't help but think back to simpler times. Lunch breaks, bad coffee, and annoying supervisors. Now his world was one of tactics and survival. First things first, Mark said, his tone lightening deliberately. I need everyone to remember not to blow themselves up. Basic rule. It earned him a few smiles, small but enough. They needed that humor to keep going. Hannah chuckled, shaking her head. Always the motivator, huh? Just keeping it real, Mark replied, though the gravity of the upcoming mission gnawed at him. They had one shot at this. Alira stepped forward, her ethereal presence commanding attention. Our observations indicate the command center's weak point is here. She pointed to a spot on the map. A direct hit will disrupt their entire operation. Mark nodded. We go in, take out the core, and get out. Quick and clean. His internal monologue was less confident. Was this really possible? Would they make it out alive? The night air was cold as they emerged, the city above still bearing the scars of earlier battles. Shadows moved carefully, their team blending with the ruins. Mark led the way, every step a calculated risk. He felt the weight of the Lyrus beam, its power a strange comfort. Stick to the plan, he reminded everyone, his voice barely above a whisper, and stay sharp. They approached the command center cautiously. The Glorxies patrolled the area, their movements mechanical and precise. Mark scanned for the weakest link. One guard stood slightly apart, distracted. He motioned to Hannah, "Take him quietly." She nodded, slipping through the darkness with practiced ease. Moments later, the Glorks crumpled silently. Mark felt a brief surge of pride. They'd come so far. Moving in, the team spread out, seeking vantage points and preparing for the assault. Tension crackled in the air. Mark wiped sweat from his brow, his heart hammering. Showtime, he thought grimly. Clear shots rang out, blue beams slicing through the night and striking their targets. Chaos erupted as the Glorxies scrambled to respond. Mark targeted the core, Alira's words echoing in his mind. All or nothing, he muttered, firing. The beam hit its mark, and the core began to glow ominously. We need to move, Alira's voice cut through his focus. Now! Fall back, Mark shouted, adrenaline spiking. His team moved with controlled panic, racing away from the impending explosion. The command center erupted behind them, a brilliant inferno lighting the sky. They regrouped at a safer distance, breathless and wide-eyed. The command center lay in ruins, Glork's forces in disarray. Mark felt a rush of exhilaration. We did it, he whispered, hardly believing their success. Hannah reached him, her face split in a relieved grin. That was insane, but we did it. Looks like we're pretty good at this saving the world thing, Mark joked, though his mind was already racing ahead. This victory was huge, but the war wasn't over. Alira joined them, her expression inscrutable. You've shown them humanity's strength. They won't underestimate you again. Good, Mark replied, eyes steely, because we're not done fighting, not by a long shot. As the adrenaline ebbed, fatigue set in. But Mark knew rest was a luxury they couldn't afford. They'd struck a blow, but the Glorkses would regroup. They had to be ready. Standing amid the ruins, surrounded by allies and the debris of their triumph, Mark felt a grim satisfaction. The world was still hanging by a thread, but for the first time, he truly believed they had a chance to pull it back. With Alira's guidance and the unwavering resolve of his makeshift army, they wouldn't just survive. They would win. Mark awoke to the muffled sounds of activity in the underground base. Despite the ache in his muscles, a strange sense of calm settled over him. Today was the day, the final showdown. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, and saw Alira already in deep conversation with the others. Morning, sunshine, he called out, forcing a grin. We ready to kick some more alien butt? Hannah approached with a grim smile. As ready as we'll ever be. They're rallying what's left of their forces. Mark could see the weariness in her eyes, the same weariness he felt. Don't worry, Hannah. We've come this far. No point in quitting now. Alira turned to him, her expression serious. Our intel suggests the Glorxies are preparing a counterattack of unprecedented scale. They plan to destroy everything. Desperate times for desperate aliens, huh? Mark quipped, though the gravity of the situation pressed on him. His mind raced through strategies, looking for any advantage. They couldn't afford any mistakes. The group gathered around the map, each member resolved and focused. Mark took a deep breath. Okay, folks, this is it. We hit them hard, we hit them fast. We're going to show them why humans are not to be messed with. Blue beams flickered to life as they armed themselves. Mark couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. Ordinary people turned warriors, driven by sheer will. They moved out, the anticipation palpable. The city streets were eerily quiet, the calm before the storm. Mark led the way, every sense on high alert. In the distance, the Glork stronghold loomed, a fortress of alien architecture and cold efficiency. Mark's thoughts churned with a mix of fear and determination. If I survive this, I'm definitely taking a vacation. A long, long vacation. The absurdity of it made him chuckle, a sound out of place in the eerie silence. As they approached, the Glorxes detected them. Alarms blared, and the ground trembled with the movement of alien forces mobilizing. Mark raised his Lyruth beam, steadying his breath. Here they come! The first wave of Glorxes met a wall of blue beams, their technological advantage countered by the Elorian weapons. Mark fired with precision, each shot an act of defiance. For Earth, he shouted, rallying his group. Hannah fought beside him, grim determination etched on her face. We've got this, Mark. We have to. Alira provided cover, her movements fluid and controlled. Focus on the generators. They power their defenses, she instructed. Mark nodded, signaling his team to target the massive, humming generators. If they could disrupt those, they would have a chance. He aimed and fired, the beam striking true. The first generator exploded in a shower of sparks and alien screams. They're faltering, Hannah yelled over the din. Keep pushing! Mark felt a surge of hope. They had the upper hand. Moving swiftly, they advanced toward the stronghold, taking out Glork's forces with deadly efficiency. The second generator blew, plunging the area into chaos. Reaching the heart of the stronghold, Mark knew this was the critical moment. The command unit was heavily guarded, and taking it out would cripple the Glork's operations. He gave his team a quick, steady look. Let's finish this. Together, they breached the final defenses, each movement sharp and coordinated. The Lyros beams cut through the enemy, and for each fallen Glorks, a step closer to victory was taken. The air was thick with tension and the acrid smell of burning metal. Inside the command center, the alien leader stood defiant. Mark approached, his beam poised. This ends now. The alien leader hissed something unintelligible, its eyes glowing with defiance. Mark didn't hesitate. He fired, and the leader fell. The room fell silent, the hum of alien machinery dissipating. The remaining Glorxes, leaderless and confused, began to retreat. Mark lowered his beam, a wave of relief washing over him. They had done it. We won, Hannah breathed, the disbelief clear in her voice. Mark gave her a weary smile. Yeah, we did. He turned to Alira, who nodded, respect shining in her eyes. The Glorxes will not recover from this. Your world is safe. Mark looked around at his team, the elation and fatigue evident on every face. They had fought hard, and they had won. He felt a rare, genuine joy. All right, team, let's go home. As they made their way back, the ruins of the city once again felt like something worth saving. Mark knew the road ahead would be long, but for the first time it seemed filled with possibility rather than despair. He glanced at Alira, who had her own subtle smile. Ever think about writing a book? He joked. Tales of the Alien Underground. Alira chuckled softly. I think you'd make a fine hero in any story, Mark Jeffries. He laughed, a sound full of life and hope. Hero, huh? I could get used to that. The future was uncertain, but for now, victory tasted sweet. And as a dark-humored warrior and an ancient guardian led humanity back into the light, Mark felt ready to face whatever came next.